Welcome back, Momentous Building family. This is Patrick Robertson here, and today we're going to talk about tile and mistakes to avoid, specifically this one hidden gem that I think that a lot of people are finding out these days. As always, please give us a like, share, and subscribe to help grow that message and help some people out as we talk about tile and anything else construction related and real estate investments. So let's dive right in. Wall tile, floor tile, whatever it is, not all tiles are created equal. And I don't mean different grades of tiles, I mean individual tiles themselves. A lot of times mistakes are made on designing projects or picking out tile when we don't understand this one truth. And that truth is there is variation across all different types of tiles and individually in the same exact tile spec itself. So right here we have a handcrafted wall tile, a white kind of classic subway tile, but if you can see, in the little shimmer of the light, there's actually some surface difference in this to give it a little more textural feel. Now in this particular tile, across say a box or two boxes of tiles, there will be a little different patterns in there to give it that natural feel. Now in a general context, what we have to also understand, the second form of variation is in the batches themselves. So tiles are made in batches from the manufacturer, whether they're handmade or actually manufactured by machine equipment. They're created in these batches, which are large groups of tiles without the machine stop running, without the materials supplying the raw materials. Now when this batch ends, the machine shut down, new raw materials come in, and a new batch starts. When that happens, there's actually variation in the colors and the textures of the tiles themselves. So this is really important when you say buy a 10 or 20 boxes of tile. The distributor will give you the same batch. Now here's the thing, and 2 months later, if you want to go buy the same exact tile, it will come most likely from a different batch, and you have to be careful to make sure that the tiles match themselves, because the hue of the white in this will be different from batch to batch to batch, and you might not notice it right off the front end, but on the back end when it's installed in your kitchen or bathroom, you're gonna see it right away. So that's with simple tiles. Now, the bigger thing is we have to be careful of is with porcelain tiles and marble tiles. So right here, we have a porcelain tile. Did you like that? I almost dropped on the ground. So right here we have a porcelain tile. This is a 12 by 24. Usually these are used by floor tiles. And the interesting thing about porcelain, so it's man-made and man-printed. And what they do is they throw variation in the print themselves to create that more natural feel like this is a real stone. Same tile, same box, and we have two different variation patterns in it. So with that being said, there is some variation, degree of variance in there. There's different colors, there's different splotches. What we don't want to do, and what we have been finding a lot more, is porcelain is becoming more popular, a lot more options. The manufacturers are getting really good at printing these porcelain designs on there and making that more natural feeling with good variation. The problem is what we ran into on one of our projects, and that is what happens when there is too much variation within the individual tile spec and the tile is chosen, and then it's installed, and now the variation is massive, and we don't like the highs of the variation, the lows of the variations. So in this bathroom in particular, what we had is that we had floor tile that was picked out from a sample, and that sample didn't have too many veins in it, bright yellow gold marks that some of the other tiles in that box or another box had in it. So what we had to do is that we installed this tile, a couple pieces looked phenomenal, but then there was this one or two pieces that had massive veins in it and these big gold plates in it that if it's not your liking or it's not your desire to have that in there, they look really ugly. Now some people find this design amazing and beautiful, and that's why they choose this tile. But that's where we have to be careful, is that running into this, we have to make sure that we understand the variation across these prints and not that just one individual tile. Now let's jump to the job site and see what's going on in this particular job site. So we have this one tile on the bottom left of the camera, and it has this really big vein in it. So what we're gonna go in and do is we're actually going to go in and we're gonna chip out that one tile and replace it with a brand new tile that is in line with the customer's desired look, without that big vein in there, without a lot of that yellow and gold, and more of a simple design that we see more towards the center tiles. This will allow us to fix this problem, get in there and get it done. Now what we're gonna go in here and do is we're gonna chip away individual little baby pieces one at a time. You see, that's exactly what we're doing. We break the tile into these little quarter-sized pieces, clean it up, being very, very careful not to break or damage the waterproofing membrane underneath. We use the Schluter prefab pan in this case. It's an amazing system and we love it. If we did damage the pan in this situation, which we didn't going through this, all we would need to do is patch it with a Curdy band, just like you would do with any other seam in the Schluter system. This would restore the waterproofing layer and make it wholesome and sound and ready for showering with being leak free. So that's exactly what we did. Check it out. We got this brand new tile in there. It's beautiful. And this shower is now completed with the floor looking absolutely phenomenal. Getting that high variance tile out of there and really correcting the situation to make sure that the homeowner is in love with the design, in love with the variation within the tile. It doesn't have these extremes and it doesn't have the low lows in there, and it kind of all blends together of the client's liking. Here we have 3 pieces of tile, and this is the massive variation in a tile like this, and that's why it's important to go through these boxes of tile and understanding when you're buying tile what the variation is in between each individual tile. With porcelain, a lot of these companies give a rating. Now if they don't give a rating, it's good to ask the distributor what the variation amount is across the tiles, because if they say it's a high variation, you're gonna get a difference between this tile right here at the least amount and this tile right here at the most. So you see how many yellow and white veins there are in this tile here in the center. This one here on the right is kind of on the middle ground, where this one over here all the way on the left, almost no yellow veins in it. So very interesting, and as always, that's why we are going forward and changing our methods on how we do this when we present these options to customers in the future, to make sure that we don't have an instance where we have to replace one of these tiles. Even though it came out fantastic, the whole idea is to not make those design errors or missteps, so that way when we finish the job the first time, it's perfect. Design is always personal, and we want to make sure that the design that is chosen for the job always fits the client's needs. Alright, so let's close out this video and just recap. There is variation between all different types of tiles. Individual tiles themselves will have different prints and different patterns on them, but then we also have to keep in mind the actual batches and how some batches will be maybe a little bit different color or texture than a different batch that is manufactured later on down the road. With porcelain tile in particular, there's usually a rating with how much variance are in each individual box, in each individual tile. Be sure to ask those questions of your contractor, of your designer, of the tile distributor. That way you can get the right understanding of what this variance is going to look like, what the extremes are, what the lows are going to be, and that way you have this spectrum of what's going to be on your floor, your walls, and give you a wholesome feel of what that design is going to be. As always, thank you so much. If you have any questions about tiling, construction, real estate investing, we'd love to help you out here. As always, thank you so much for joining us here at Momentous Building. We'll catch you on the next one.